Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Apples and Genos Fantasy Hockey Podcast. My name is Nate Groot Nibelink. I'm the creator of Apples and Genos, originator of the Zero G Draft Strategy. And in this podcast, Blake and I are going to give you all the best streamers and ad options for next week so you can start planning early. Let's get it. And of course, I have your friend and my best friend here to get reamed. It's Blake Creamer. Blake, how are you doing today?
Reamed. Damn it. I'm not sure I know what that means. And if I do know what it means, I don't know if I like the sound of it. But, I appreciate the effort, Nate. And you get an A for effort for sure. And that's all that matters, right? Buddy, I'm fine. It's good. Yeah, it was a busy week. I ended up being a lot busier than I wanted to be. Like, why does life have to get in the way of fantasy hockey? Like,
It's so annoying.
What is this? I have teams. I have 9 teams. I don't have time for life. Okay. I got 9 teams. I got 2 kids, a wife. That's enough. Anything on top of that, I just get, it's not good, but that's fine. My matchups are going terribly as well. But yeah, that's, we're just here for a good time, right, Nate?
Something like that. I can sympathize with you on the matchups. I had a great week last week, was feeling good, won 3 out of 4, and then this week came in and kicked me in the teeth. So, yeah, I can sympathize with you there. A little bit is like I have a lot of Minnesota guys. They only have 2 games this week. There's a little bit of scheduling stuff there. I'm down in games played kind of across the board and trying to claw back, but yeah, there's always going to be weeks like this, but it hurts a little bit more, I feel like, at the beginning of the season where you're like trying to reestablish yourself and be like, do I still know what I'm talking about here? Yep. That's always in consideration. But either way, I think we should not delay any longer. I think we should get to some newsies.
Newsies. Okay, that's how we get to biz over here. We're talking some NHL news, and there's lots to talk about, so let's get into it. First, we're going to talk about some pretty stinky news out of Utah. Sean Durzi of the Durzi Shore. He's out 4 to 5 months getting surgery for an injury sustained in the Monday game versus New Jersey. Just terrible. Like, yeah, like when a guy goes off and he's hanging his shoulder like that, he's got a sling afterwards, it's going to be bad. And it's unfortunate because I don't think we were super stoked on Durzi this year. Like, I was a little higher on him than you, but he was coming out the gate with over 25 minutes a night. He was blocking like a beast, power play too. So it's unfortunate. I think Durzi had some real fantasy value at that clip. So yeah, 4 to 5 months. That's no good. Look for the juice box, Yusuf Alamaki, to do the bare minimum for your fantasy team. But yeah, Sergachev, he's going to pop the hell off. I think, yeah, he's getting all the minutes. So obviously if you drafted Sergachev, could be a potentially good thing, right? I think he's going to get more minutes. Anywho, that's bad news out of Utah. More bad news out of Montreal. They got a trio of injuries going on there. First, the professor, Mike Matheson. Buddy, no, we've been singing your praises for 2 years now, how durable you are, and then this happens. Yeah, he was injured recently in the last game, but he is going to travel with the team to New York, and it sounds like he might play there. So that's really good news because without him, rookie Lane Hudson was out there for 30 minutes. I mean, which is kind of nice if you picked up Lane Hudson in a fantasy league somewhere, but I don't think that's setting him up for success, right? So Mike Matheson, hopefully coming back here soon. Making matters worse, though, for Montreal, Caden Goulet, he's not traveling after taking an awkward hit into the boards from Adrian Kempe, that dingus. Adrian Kempe, he alone just submarined my entire week here. All my opponents had Adrian Kempe, so he's on notice right now, but that's fine. Yeah, and then he took out Caden Goulet. I don't know, but yeah, he's not traveling with the team. So just that's too bad because that's a guy that can definitely be value in bangers leagues. Big time blocks, big time hits. He's good at that. And then Juraj Slavkovsky left practice recently with an apparent shoulder injury, but he's going to travel with the team as well. He's going to be a game time decision. So that would stink if he couldn't make it there. But yeah, I mean, they might have dodged a bullet with Matheson and Slav there. in Columbus, I mean, what the like this team, man? They if they didn't have bad luck, they'd have no luck at all. It's really unfortunate. Kent Johnson, the Johnson Rod, he left the game, and he's got we don't even have an update on the guy, but yeah, he couldn't finish the game. Head coach Dean Evanson, when the head coach comes out and says it didn't look good, like he's going to be out for a while, right? So that stinks because he was getting some big deployment, actually, like 18 minutes. He was playing on the power play one. He was playing on the PK. It looked like this guy could be a real player for us here on our teams. So yeah, and that's a player I like personally. So we'll see what happens there. But sticking with Columbus, Elvis Merzlikins, he's day-to-day as well with an upper body injury. Yegor Chinikov blocked the shot. He's got some x-rays. It sounds like he is likely to play on Saturday, but just got to keep an eye on that. I don't know. What's your take? Like, who's going to step up in Columbus there? And one thing I want to say, Nate, about Columbus, they've really came to play this year. Like, I've watched a few games, and these guys they're turned on. They're engaged. They're out there doing stuff. I mean, like, who do you like in Columbus there at this point?
You gotta love it when players get turned on like that. But I think
Giggity.
that I think that there's actually like a number of these guys that have the pedigree. Like Sillinger, we were excited about after a good rookie season with some good underlying numbers. Obviously, Fantilli, I've waxed poetic about at times this off season about the ceiling that I see for him. Um, yeah, I think they actually do have some players who can step up. I mean, it only goes so far,
Yeah.
right? There's only so many injuries any team can sustain, but yeah, I do think that there's some options at least for a few players, and I think we are seeing a bit of that Dean Evison effect that we hoped and thought might come to fruition
Yep.
here for this team, where he is prioritizing the players that are giving them the best chance to win every night, and wouldn't you know it, it's actually helping them do that.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I'd like to see, put Fantilli out there. What,
Yeah,
like, come on, please,
it's
buddy. It's
the ice
15
time's
minutes a
been
night.
going up.
That's good.
The
Yeah.
ice time's been going up.
What did he have last game? Because I didn't check it. Like, is he over 15? And the metrics, I haven't looked into Adam Fantilli here recently, but I did drop him in a league. It's kind of a shallow league, so I didn't mind dropping Adam Fantilli, but yeah, it's just
Yeah.
it hasn't been the start that we wanted.
Yeah, he started at 1549, then 1653, 1811, 1749 the last two, with
Love
four
that.
shots in each.
Okay. All right. So Fantilli's season is just a little bit delayed, but it's coming, folks. Don't worry. That's a Nate guarantee. All right, Nate. Are you comfortable with me saying that?
And when it comes to Adam Fantilli, I'll guarantee it.
Oh my God, I love this. It's like Mark Messier in 1994, Game 6. Was anyone alive, that listens to our show that remembers that game?
I was 5 years old, so
Oh man, that's that's hard to hear. All right, I'm just gonna put that aside. Move on. All right, into Dallas here. Tyler Seguin, Mark Barber's favorite player. All right, especially in best ball. He's not expected to play on Saturday. Sorry, Mark. He's got an LBI, but Maverick Bork made his debut in the lineup there. Actually, didn't check the box score on that game, so I'm not sure how he did. But we know Dallas is ridiculous with their middle six, and so just keep an eye on what Sagan's doing there. But when he gets back in the lineup, that line cooks. I don't know what they're doing there, but him, Mason Marchman, Duchesne. Matt Duchesne, he's just doing it. I don't even care. I like Duchesne now. I'm on board the Duchesne train, so that means he's probably going to go for 40 points this year. But yeah, anyways, Tyler Seguin out, not expected to play on Saturday. LBI. Let's move on over to Vegas. Victor Olofsson, unfortunate injury here because this guy looked like he might have some real opportunity there in Vegas. He's out with a lower body injury, and Pavel Dorofiev took his place on power play one, cooked up a goal. So I like that. That's not too bad. That's a player of interest for sure if you're looking at getting a Vegas player in there. And they're still doing the thing. Mark Stone. Well, this guy's just tooting in my face right off the bat. He obviously listens to the show, and this is bulletin board for Mark Stone, isn't it, Nate?
yeah, for sure. Mark Stone, avid listener of the Apples and Ginos Fantasy Hockey podcast. Yeah, he messaged me directly, said, watch what I'm going to do to Blake this year. And so far he's been doing it.
Yeah, sorry, Mark. I mean, it's just the injuries, right? And plus, I don't know. I don't really like his face. It's one of those players that you see his face and you're like, nah, I'm good. I don't want to look at that all year on my Yahoo. So, Mark, I mean, I'm sure he's a good person and he's a really good hockey player. Let's just agree on that. Oh God, it's pissing me off. Anyways, moving on. Got to talk about Colorado. Devin Taves. Devin, what are you doing here? Yeah, he's missing a third. He missed the third straight game tonight with the lower body injury. Still day to day. That stinks. Like that guy is a underrated, unsung hero of that team. I think Makar plays better with Taves in the lineup. He's struggled a little bit. I mean, he's still putting points on the board, but he's not he's not going full Makar. And I think not having Devin Taves in there, that's not good for the Avs. So hopefully he's back soon. Arturi Lehkonen got an update there. He's going to be reevaluated on October 28th by the doctors there. So that's good. So we'll definitely have a bit more of a timeline there after October 28th for Lehkonen. I think he's still a good stash. We know that Jared Bednar plays his players like, his top six get buku minutes. Just look at our boys, Nate. Oh, we got to talk about this. Ross Colton. Nate, just take the floor, Nate. Talk to us about Ross Colton and how you're feeling right now after this game here on Friday night.
Yeah, I mean it's taken a while to get here, but it does feel pretty good that Ross Colton's having himself at least a week here. I think it was last year, but there was some point. Somebody can go check the tape, but there is a point where I said on this podcast, I said I'll be wrong about a lot of things that I say on here, but I'm not wrong about Ross Colton. And yeah, it feels pretty good that he's justifying the hype a little bit this week.
Yeah, I remember that, and that was a funny take. It was just nice that you kind of just planted that flag, and yeah, like he did get opportunity last year, but he didn't do anything with it, right? But I love just another year in Colorado, and he's really cooking right now. 2 goals on Friday, love that. So there you go. Yeah, we also sticking with Colorado. Drouin is still injured. The timeline seems to be expanding, right? Like it seems like that's fairly significant there for Jonathan Drouin. So this means we can hold our boy Ross Cameo Colton a word up. You ever heard that song? A word up by Cameo. You got to Google that, Nate. I
Okay.
know. Yeah,
I'll add it to the list of 80s references from you that I have to go check out.
Oh God, it might have been 70s. I don't know. But I wasn't alive then. But I don't know. Don't quote me on that. Definitely, everybody, go Google "Word Up" by Cameo. Check that out. You're gonna like the way you feel. I guarantee it. All right, and Middlestat obviously a hold as well. We'll talk about him later, won't we, Nate?
Unfortunately, yes.
All right, sweet. Over to Minnesota. Jared Spurgeon is he's missing games currently because of issues related to his surgeries, but part of the healing process. What?
Yeah.
Not exactly what you want to hear. People talking about your, like a player on your NHL team. So yeah, I think if you have Jared Spurgeon anywhere and you're expecting any kind of consistency this season, I would temper those expectations. This guy's not going to be the player that we need him to be, really. He's good when he's in the lineup, so just not something I'm really interested in dealing with this season. In Florida, Matthew Tkachuk, he's expected to return Tuesday after an illness. That was a weird illness where they come out and they're like, yeah, like this guy's going to be out for a week with an illness. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, that's a strange one, but I'm glad he's back and it's not too bad. Florida definitely needs him. They definitely need Barkov, who is also getting a little closer. He's skating, but he's going to be later to return there. But they've been holding the fort down. Sam Reinhart, man, this guy's a player. Like he's a really good player. Obviously, he gets accolades from his coaches and stuff like that, but he's just out there doing the thing in all 3 zones. Like I'm such a fan of the Sex Panther, Sammy Reinhart. I mean, I'm not a fan for for like the season he had last year. I don't expect that, but this guy's a very valuable player for his team, isn't he, Nate?
for sure. Yeah, we were relatively high on Sam Reinhart last year and remained like decently high. I
Yeah.
think everybody saw the sky high shooting percentage, but I think history will prove us right again this year on Sam Reinhart that he's a player that something did change with just the structure of the power play and how he's being prioritized as a shooter, and we should expect good things for Sam Reinhart once again.
All good things. These are all good things. They go up, down, and around, circular motion, right? You know what I'm talking about, Nate?
No idea.
Okay, sweet. Let's move on. We've confused the audience as well. Okay, in Toronto, Joseph Wall, he's going to play a full practice on Friday. Are you feeling good about this, Nate?
Well, let's not get too excited. He's
Oh, God.
practicing, right? Like I'm sure by the time he gets ready for the next game there'll be something else that'll crop up. So let's
Yeah.
just take it one step at a time.
Are there any stairs in his house? Like, you know what I mean? Because that's what I'm concerned about. Just a slip off the stair. Oh God, now we're looking at months. Joseph Wall, get well soon. Get in the net, buddy. But in the meantime, you get yourself some Dennis Hildeby, right? I don't know. I like to call him David, but his name's Dennis. Dennis is a cool name, man. It reminds me of I know you haven't seen Ernest Goes to Camp, but in Ernest Goes to Camp, it's Jim Varney. He's like he's a camp counselor. Anyways, one of the camp counselor's name is Stennis. And he's a real ding dong, all right? And one of the things he does, he tries to teach this kid how to swim, but he says, "You're going to learn the Stennis way." And he just threw him in the pool. I mean, what are you doing, Stennis? All right. Go check out Ernest Goes to Camp. You need to check that out as well, Nate. I'm just putting that on your wish list. I'm making a list. I'll give it to you offline. Anyways, sorry about this. I've digressed. Over to LA, Darcy Kemper, after, again, submarining my entire week for multiple teams after getting pumped for 8 goals. Then he missed Thursday's game with an upper body injury as well. I mean, it was probably a mental injury. You know what I mean? He's just like, I can't, I don't know if I can do this anymore. What are they doing in LA? I want to shout out Michael Amato. He tweeted something. It was funny. It's like, yeah, LA is really serious about changing that 1-3-1 or something like that. It was like, yeah, they might want to go back to that and just ease it in a little bit. Like, let's not go crazy here. But what the hell was that game? That was insane. Did you watch any of that?
I didn't know, but yeah, it was absolutely wild to watch. It's just notification after notification.
Yeah, just ludicrous. So anyways, sounds like he's not too far away from returning. So keep an eye. He might get in on Saturday. I hope he does, because I need those goalie starts, and it's all about what I want. All right. It's not about the man's health. Let's move on over to Ottawa. Linus Ullmark missed Thursday's game, but he was back at practice skating, full participant. Sounds like he is going to be back on Saturday, but definitely check Twitter, check the lines and stuff. But yeah, let's get Ullmark back in there for Ottawa, because we see what happens. They gave up a 7-piece without Ullmark in there. So yeah, I think he's going to be good to go once he gets back in. Sticking with goalies, Alex Nedeljkovic, he's going to get a start with the Wilkes-Barre Scranton this weekend before rejoining the Penguins. Could be a 0G hero. All right. Oh God, sorry. I'm literally reading what Nate wrote and like trying to put my own spin on it. Oh God. But he's going to be a 0G hero with the Pens, finally scoring. But yeah, Blomqvist, he's been an interesting piece, but yeah, got lit up today a little bit. Didn't look as good. I'm talking about Friday night. So yeah, I think Ned is a much better option than Blomqvist when he returns, and hopefully he's at full health. Last couple things here, folks. William Eklund of the San Jose Sharks, he's day-to-day with an upper body injury, questionable for Sunday's game. Wanted to mention one more thing about San Jose. Will Smith is the rookie Will Smith. He's getting the Leo Carlson treatment this year from the coaches there. They have a plan for him. He was a healthy scratch the other night, and they said it was part of the plan. So I hate this, right? I mean, not like I was so big into Will Smith this year, but I mean, he has a reasonable fantasy value. And just as a streamer even, but that moving forward, that's probably not going to be a guy I'm too interested in. I don't want to deal with that headache either. And then lastly, Vince Dunn, he got himself injured. All right. He's day-to-day as well. Currently just awaiting further evaluation. Vince Dunn is. So yeah, check the lines and see what's what. But Nate, that's the news. We got to get to business here. We got to attack that schedule, don't we? In a little segment we call aptly Schedule Attack.
All right, let's attack that schedule. Monday we have 1 game. Tuesday we have 16 games. Wednesday we have 1 game. Thursday we have 9 games. Friday we have 4 games. Saturday we have 14 games. Sunday we have 4 games. Hats off once again to the NHL scheduling team for this atrocity in front of us. It's in total 49 games played on the week. It is a light week, but it's not going to feel like it with how polarized the off nights and heavy nights are here. We have only 2 teams with the Monday, Tuesday back-to-back to open the week. That's Tampa Bay and Toronto, but honestly, it's not even worth repeating because literally everybody in the NHL is going to be playing on Tuesday night. We have no teams with a Monday, Wednesday to open the week. We have no teams with Wednesday, Friday off nights. We have 3 teams with Friday, Sunday off nights. So there's something there. Edmonton, New Jersey, Ottawa are those teams. There's not really any great way to piece together early week streams. Maybe you can do something like if you have space on the Thursday, maybe you can do the Tampa or Toronto Monday, Thursday, and then switch over to the Edmonton, Ottawa, New Jersey Friday, Sunday. New Jersey is probably the best week long stream. If you can get them in on Thursday, then you can get Thursday, Friday, Sunday. It is rough. There's no two ways about it. It's a rough week for streaming purposes. When we have these kind of weeks, just want to make some notes. I've talked about all these things before, previous spots, but it's a good spot to potentially pick up some goalie spot streams. Maybe take a shot at your next 0G candidate. You know, guys like Ursin Fedotov in Philadelphia. Seems like so far Ursin has played a little better in my estimation anyway. So if Ursin is out there in your league, maybe that's a one to look at. Lindgren or Thompson in Washington. It seems like they're most likely splitting back and forth right now, but yeah, it's not a good spot to be in terms of what we're looking at doing this week. So it is one of those weeks where you can kind of think about, yeah, maybe it's a good week to just target guys that you think you might hold for the rest of the season, right? If there's somebody out there who's been popping off, the schedule isn't so great this week, but everybody's schedule is not going to be so great this week. You're getting minimal help from streaming, so maybe this is a week that you target that player that you think is going to pop off for the rest of the year and end up being a hold on your team. One thing I will caution against, don't overuse your ads, just trying to get like one game played from like I've got Paul Cotter up on the screen right now. Yeah, don't chase single games played is what I will say. I think that's pretty much all I can say about this schedule. How are you feeling about this schedule, Blake?
It stinks. I am excited about Tuesday though. That's going to be a really fun day of hockey. Like I'm just looking forward to watching some hockey that day. But yeah, what the hell are we supposed to do with this? This is gross. So I do love that bit. Like yeah, look for rest of season holds, and just hope that your team is good to go. Like one of the teams that you're able to get some decent players in on that schedule.
All right. Let's kick it over to our next segment, lowered expectations. Blake, bring us in.
We got to lower those expectations. All right. Nate already did it for us with his report on the schedule. I mean, it doesn't get much lower than this, but, we're going to try. All right. That's what we do here on Apples and Genos. We want to take you to the depths so that we can bring you back up. All right. It's sweet and sour. You can't have the sweet without the sour, right, Nate?
Something like that.
Okay, yeah, I've read that somewhere. Anyways, lowered expectations. This is the segment where we talk about the worst teams to stream and potential players that you might look at dropping or bubble players, right? And this week there are 3 teams that have a pretty god awful schedule. 2 games played with 0 off nights, so they're playing the busy Tuesday and then the busy Saturday. This is gross. And those teams are the Buffalo Sabres, Columbus Blue Jackets, and your Vancouver Canucks. They're really tooting in our faces here, and it's not good. All right, it's it smells like hot garbage and like food that people are cooking in their hallways. You know what I'm saying? Like those two things mixed together. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm sorry about this,
I
Nate.
got no
Yeah,
idea what's
nah,
going on right
no,
now.
I've lost it. Yeah, I lost it early, and sometimes it just doesn't come back. But that's fine. We push on. Let's talk about Buffalo because there's some interesting pieces there. That at least on Yahoo, they're not rostered very well, right? And one of the first ones we're looking at, JJ Peterka, right? He's still only 37% roster on Yahoo, which is laughable. I don't quite get that. So we got JJ Peterka here. Bowen Byram is another player. Owen Power and Dylan Cousins. I think of those 4 players, Peterka and Cousins are interesting to me, and I'm wondering what your thoughts are on, this type of week with those players. What are you doing with them?
Yeah, it's a weird group. Like, I like all of these players for different things individually. I'm definitely not dropping Paterka. I think his role seems to be pretty secure. It only took 1 game after returning from the injury for him to go back up on the top power play. I really like what Cousins has done in terms of the underlying stats this year, so I'm really trying to hang on to him as well in most, like 12-team kind of leagues that we talk about. But it is going to be tough with both Byram and Power off the top power play now. I will say it's a little bit difficult for me to say that you can really hang on to these guys in a 2 game week. So I think I'm trying to keep the forwards here, and I'm probably going to be okay letting go of the two defensemen.
Yep, I agree with that. I would say too, like Byram and Power are both players of interest for me this season. But yeah, in this week, it's going to be tough. I love that Byram's actually getting like 20 minutes plus because that's obviously a guy we've been in on for a couple seasons and it hasn't really panned out. But yeah, Paterka and Cousins probably stick around. Paterka for sure. Anyways, Columbus, let's move on there. And yeah, some more interesting pieces here. I think a little easier decisions though than JJ Peterka. With Columbus, we're looking at Fantilli, Sean Monahan, Yegor Chinikov, Kirill Marchenko, who's really been picking up his game, and then Kent Johnson. If you don't have like an IR spot or something like that, what are you doing out in Columbus there, Nate?
Yeah, I'm trying to hang on to some of these guys. There's definitely some excitement for me around Fantilli, Chinikov, Marchenko. I mean, Chinikov and Marchenko have 6 points in 4 games.
Yeah.
That's hard to just drop right away. Yeah, especially if you're kind of in a spot where you're not really going to get much from an ad anyway, whoever you drop them for. So, yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
like actively trying to drop them, but it is a week where if you can find something, right? If you can find something that'll get you like 2 games played on the Friday, Sunday or something like that, then it is still a spot where I would consider it.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's like, we're talking about, pick up players that a rest of season holds for yourself. Like, yeah, we're talking about players right now in Buffalo and Columbus that are potentially rest of season holds. So
Yeah.
you don't want to just bounce them to the curb, like unless someone drops someone crazy. Like I got in our listener league, someone dropped Ehlers randomly. I don't even understand. And I picked him up for the Friday, Sunday. And this was the first game here. He popped off for 2 goals and 1 assist. It was amazing. So that was pretty nice. But yeah, I mean, save for something like that. Like you're going to drop a guy like Chinikov or Marchenko or Fantilli for 1 game. Like, so you get 1 game on your schedule. That doesn't make a lot of sense. So yeah, I'm with you there. I think that's a good point. Let's move on to Vancouver. Let's see. The teams or the players in Vancouver, you're looking at Phil Hronik. What is he doing on your fantasy team? First of all, get the hell out of my sight, Philip Hronik. It's crusty old barnacle. Jake DeBrusk being moved down the lineup. I hate that. Connor Garland is one that he's putting together a nice season. The funny thing about Garland, he's noticeably like the best player on the ice when he's out there. He just doesn't convert. He just can't convert, which is really frustrating. But yeah, anyways, that's just a little bit on Connor Garland. And then Nate, I want to know why you capitalized Daniel Sprong in our list here. Why did you capitalize him, Nate? Explain yourself.
I just wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about how Daniel Sprong was such a better pick than Danton Heinen this year.
Oh God, how many games into the season are we? I don't remember. What is it? 4? Daniel Sprong will be back with the vengeance, buddy. This guy's gonna slink all over the place. He does that. He's gonna play 12 minutes a night, and he's gonna go nuts. All right. We're looking at 40 points. Daniel Sprong, book it. And if it doesn't work, just edit this out in post. Right. That's how we do.
That is how we do. I will say though, like, well, first off, I'm gonna say I completely messed up not adding the correct information on this slide. So if you're watching on YouTube, I took the snip out of our notes and I put it over top, which is just fantastic video work that I'm putting on for our good viewers here. But on Vancouver specifically, like, yeah, Hronik is pretty widely rostered. He's up at 74% on Yahoo. Yeah, I think you can let that one go. I want to know how you're feeling about DeBrusk right now, Blake.
Yeah.
Obviously, you had a pretty big projection on him. You're
Mhm.
pretty excited about the acquisition. I think it was pretty clear what they were trying to do there.
Yeah.
Are you worried that this is more than just, like things didn't go well last game, so we're shuffling the lines a bit? Or are you thinking that he's going to be right back up there in the top 6 sooner rather than later?
I think he'll be back up there. I'm not giving up on this player right now, but in terms of this week, like, yeah, it's you can't like if you have a better ad there, like it's a pretty easy drop for me at this point. Like I just yeah, he's had a bad game, but Pettersson too. Like Pettersson has been garbage so far this
Yeah.
year. It's really frustrating, man, because they're just getting caved in out there in terms of Corsi for, Corsi against. Like, the ice is tilted against them, scoring chances going nuts. They're generating nothing. So they're throwing things in a blender and seeing what sticks. And DeBrusk is the guy that's kind of getting the short end of the stick, but he'll be back. I'm not too concerned there, but it's not great.
All right.
All right, let's move on. What are we doing next? Oh yeah, buddy. So those are the teams there that we were looking at potentially getting rid of players from. There are also 13 teams that have 3 games played with 0 off nights. But remember that the Thursday is a 9-game, like, quote unquote heavy night, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can probably get some players in there. So you have a little bit of flexibility. I think it's not as bad as that reads, but that's that in terms of, like, just because it's such a weird week, those are the teams that you probably want to avoid for sure. And now, Nate, we got to cross the streams. We got to get in there. You know what? Crossing the streams isn't just out in nature. You can do that at a swimming pool bathroom. You know what I mean? Nate, remember that time we did that? Remember we went for a nice dip. You and I, we got our bathing caps on, right? We went out there. I shaved my chest. You helped me with my back. We got in the water. And then, like, we just went in the bathroom and, there's one stall. What are you going to do? You're going to wait for the person to get out? No, you get in and you cross the streams, right? Right, Nate?
Your memory is much more vivid than mine, Blake. I'll defer to you on that one.
That's a vivid memory. That's one I'm never letting go of. All right. It was amazing. Oh, God. All right. Crossing the streams. This is our segment where we talk about the best teams to stream. We're going to help you out. All right. This is where we do you a solid, the viewer and listener. All right. Okay. The first two teams that we're looking at are going to be the New Jersey Devils and the Philadelphia Flyers. They both play 4 games with 2 off nights. New Jersey plays Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So they got the back-to-back Thursday, Friday, which is absolutely in play for Jersey, I think. And then they play Sunday, which is really nice. Philly plays Tuesday, Wednesday, which that Tuesday's not in play, unfortunately. But then they play Saturday, Sunday. So I think Jersey is the true winner, honestly, because I think they can get it on that 9-game Thursday. But anyways, for New Jersey, we got the usual characters here. Some interesting pieces, right? Paul Cotter being the first one. Like, talk to me about Paul Cotter, Nate, because this is a guy we're hearing lots about. He's got 5 goals, and I've said too, like, he's noticeable out there. He's really noticeable. He came to play this season. Now he's been moved up into the top 6 there, playing with Nico Hischier. What do you expect from this guy? Do you think he holds that spot?
I don't. Yeah, I think it was the Hughes and Bratt line that he was on in the last game
Okay.
here against the Senators. But either way, I'm not like I just don't think it lasts for all that long personally. But I've been surprised before, and definitely it's going to be valuable as long as it lasts. The problem is, like, everybody's probably thinking about Paul Cotter. He's rostered in a fair number of my leagues already. Um, it's just going to be a spot where, like, you might have to make a decision on Paul Cotter on like a Monday, and by the time Thursday rolls around and you're actually putting him in your lineup, he might be back to third line duty, and there's not much there anymore. And so that's the tough part. The underlying stats are pretty decent. Last 5 games for Cotter: 61st in shots per 60, 90th in individual scoring chances 4 per 60. It's nothing to sneeze at for sure. Obviously in lower minutes so far, but I'm interested to see what he's going to do with more deployment and if he can maintain that deployment. But I can't say that I'm like over the moon about it, or just like saying absolutely Paul Cotter is the guy now. Like, for sure he's locked in. He's going to get all these minutes on the top line and he's just going to go off.
Yeah, there's a big difference between a player like Ross Colton and Paul Cotter, right? Like, it's first off, the main difference to me is deployment. I mean, Colton has been moved up the lineup, and he's being treated as such with big time minutes, right? 18 to 20 minutes, power play 1 with the big boys, right? And he's already had good underlying metrics. Paul Cotter's kind of like a guy that just came out of the gate hot, and they're moving him up there, like, but it's just as easy they can move him down. So I'm with you. Like, I haven't streamed him anywhere. I haven't gotten him anywhere. He's been available. I'm just like, I don't see how that's going to continue, right? But for this week, he's a great streamer. Some of the other guys you can look at there, Dawson Mercer, Stephen Nason, I think is a nice piece. He's been on power play 1. He kicked Timo Meyer off power play 1. Oh, this is, I mean, what is Timo just, is he like a dink in the dressing room or something like that? He just doesn't listen to the coach. He just grinds his own beans all the time. I don't know what's going on there. But yeah, Stephen Nason, power play 1. That's a guy that can do something. For fantasy. Eric Halla, Thomas Tatar, Andre Palat, Brendan Dillon, Simon Nemec, Seamus Casey. Seamus Casey. Are you interested at all in this young stud?
I'm not. No, like there's a quote from Keefe about how he's just can't play defense
But
at
he's a
this
mess.
level.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah. So that was definitely a little bit telling. He's played 12 and a half minutes on average. Like 12 and a half minutes in power play 2 is not going to cut it. I will note, amongst all defensemen the last 5 games, first in individual scoring chances 4/60. So that looks good.
What a
And
legend.
definitely there's been some highlights around the player. But yeah, I think he probably needs a little bit more work in his own zone before we can actually get excited about him for fantasy purposes.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, any of those other guys ringing your bell for Jersey?
Yeah, I will highlight Nason again, like you said. Top power play there. Again, similar to Cotter, how long does it last? Will Meyer get back up there? Is it really just to kind of kickstart things and then they'll kind of settle into a little bit more of what we all expected there? That's definitely within the range of possibilities. So it's not something that I'm saying like you got to run out and grab Stefan Nason. But at the same time, if the deployment holds, he's definitely going to hold some value.
Yeah, this is going to be one of those weeks where maybe you don't get up at like 3 a.m. To do your waiver ads on Monday. You're like, what am I going to get here? Like, I'm staying up this late to get Stefan Nason. Like, I don't know. Maybe. What do you think, Nate? Are you going to be getting up at 3 a.m.? Just asking for a friend. I don't know.
Wouldn't you like to know, Blake? Wouldn't you like to know?
This is terrible. But I will say I feel proud of myself. I sniped Nate for sure because 3 a.m. to him on the East Coast is 12 a.m. to me. I was having a Coke and a smile, and then I just went to bed and slept like a baby, knowing that I sniped Nate. Right, Nate?
Yeah, that's one of the more problematic things is getting up at 3 a.m. and then just getting absolutely obliterated on the waiver wire by all the people that in these leagues that I play with. Like Josh is always doing it too in the leagues that I'm in with him. Yeah, I'm in a couple tier 1s. There's like 10 of us all trying to add the same guy. So yeah, it's always an interesting scene at 3 a.m. on Monday mornings.
Well, I love that you're in Couple Tier 1 because that means the league we're in together, I get premium choices right there. I love it. I just got to beat Joshy. He's, and this guy works nights. It's terrible. Anyways, let's move on to Philly. They're quite the Phillies. And we got to talk about them. All right. They got some bits and pieces. A couple that I'm actually, low key interested in. I'll start with some of those. Morgan Frost, the Tinkly Winkly man. Yeah, that super villain Morgan Frost. That's a super villain's alter ego. That's where I'm going with that. And his super villain name, the Tinkly Winkly Man, right? Because that does provoke fear and respect from his enemies, his nemesis. Anyways, talk to me about Morgan Frost because I think that is the player that we're probably most interested in from Philly here, Nate.
Yeah, I'm into Morgan Frost at the moment. Yeah, I can dig into it a little bit more, but yeah, 4 games, 3 assists, skating over 18 minutes, 62nd in shots per 60, 28th in individual scoring chances, 4/60. On ice numbers are a little worse, but not much. Yeah, overall, I'm just in on Morgan Frost. It really seems like Tortorella thinks this is the 1C. Sean Couturier, as we know, is kind of getting deprioritized under 13 minutes on average through 4 games there for Couturier. I think Frost is just Torts' guy as far as it goes. And he's never really been this big time shot producer. So I'm not necessarily expecting that to continue for the entire season. But if that is true and he's added that element to his game this year, then all of a sudden we're talking about a guy who could score 60, 65 points and actually put up some good shot totals and be quite valuable for fantasy.
Yeah. I mean, right now he's playing with Owen Tippett and Matvey Michkov. That's as good as it gets pretty much in Philly. Yeah. That'll play. That'll flip and play. All right. So we like that. Let's look at some other Philly streamers here. We got to talk about like a trio of defensemen here too. So maybe rank these ones for me here, Nate. Travis Sanheim, Cam York, and Jamie Drysdale. How are you ranking those three?
Yeah, as long as Drysdale's on the top power play, I'll keep going back to him. Yeah, I think you just gotta default to that more or less amongst these
Yeah.
three guys. I'm not like super excited about what Drysdale's put on record at any point. But by the same token, I'm not all that excited about Sandheim or York either. I would take York over Sandheim. I do think there's more offensive talent there with York than there is with Sandheim. I kind of think Sandheim's hot start last year that he kind of rode to a 50-point finish was pretty much just variance by and large, and getting hot on a top power play unit that went cold for basically the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I go Drysdale, York, Sanheim.
Yep. No, I like that. I'd probably go York over Drysdale. I hate the deployment.
Fair.
Like when a guy's getting 17 minutes, like it's no good. It's Tony D'Angelo. Oh, this guy's like I just try and mention Tony D'Angelo as much as possible as what not to do. All right. Yeah. Although one thing about Tony D'Angelo, when he pops the collar, nobody's cooler. All right. You just pop that collar, you don't. Hey, what's going on? He's got it. He's got that weasel face. Anyways, yeah, that's fine. Let's talk about a couple other forwards we can look at here. Joel Farabee, Tyson Forster, Sean Couturier, and then Beefer. Is it Garnett Hathaway? I'm
Yes.
blanking on that man's name. Yeah. Yeah. So he's obviously you're picking him up for the banks, but Couturier, Forster, and Farabee all kind of not in Torts' doghouse, but certainly deprioritized by the man. How are you ranking them?
Yeah, it's definitely not easy. I kind of like Forster because he's the one getting the most minutes, but the underlying stats have not been great there. Couturier is kind of off my list. I put him in here just to basically to talk about the fact that I'm not into him at all. Yeah, just all the
Petty.
way down in minutes, and the underlying numbers are just atrocious as well. So
Yep.
I don't see him coming back from that without something changing there. Joel Farabee, 3 points in 4 games, 13 and a half minutes. Underlying numbers are not great. But they're actually better than the other two. So I honestly do think Farabee could be a pretty solid player if Torts didn't hate him so much. But for things being the way they are currently, I think I'd go Forster, Farabee, Couturier.
Yep. I'm with that. Honestly, I'm not going to be picking any of those guys up anyway, so I don't even need to rank them. But what's funny? Farabee is a guy that shows out in microstats, like all three zones microstats. He's a really good offensive player. He generates a lot of shots, a lot of chances and things like that. And he's pretty good offensively himself. But yeah, like you said, no deployment whatsoever, no opportunity. So it's going to be a no for me, dog, unless you can get that deployment cooking. All right, let's move on to some other teams that have a decent schedule and a really cruddy week. Edmonton Oilers and the Ottawa Senators both play 3 games with 2 off nights. So Edmonton plays Tuesday, Friday, Sunday. So they're going to be your back half team. That's really nice. You can pick up an Edmonton streamer. And Ottawa, same thing, right? So they dodge that busy Saturday. That's where the value is on these players. And starting with Edmonton, see you at the party, Victor. Victor Arvidsson. Yeah. If he's out there, you got to roll with Victor. I mean, Edmonton's going to, I feel like, they're going to pop the top here pretty damn soon. We're going to see a big offensive explosion and the team will be back. But yeah, it's been weird times in Edmonton. It seems like, McDavid and Draisaitl are chipping away, like chinsing away with little points here and there, but no one's having a big game. Zach Hyman, no points whatsoever. I talked about him in the Buy Low show, but he's still chucking pucks, still getting chances, but buddy, you got to put the biscuit in the basket. So talk to me about Victor Arvidsson, and also I'll throw Adam Henrique in there, just in terms of Edmonton streamers. What do you think about those players, Nate?
Yeah, right now I think I go with Henrique over Arvidsson. Arvidsson's underlying
Oh
metrics
no.
are just atrocious at the moment. It whatever he's done to adapt to Edmonton has not worked so far. Henrique is 76th in shots per 60. Deployment's about the same. Arvidsson has not netted a point in 5 games. Henrique has at least 1 goal. Yeah, I honestly don't know how you could argue for Arvidsson based on the underlying stats at the moment. Um, he is playing with RNH, which is the best line mate that either of them have at the moment in the last game. But Henrique, Skinner, and Connor Brown got more even strength ice time than that line anyway last game. So I don't know how much of an advantage that truly is. overall, yeah, I think I'd actually go Henrique over Arvidsson at the moment.
I'm taking Matthias Janmark. All right, over all of them, over the lot of them. I don't even care. All right. Remember Janmark in the playoffs? What was that, man? What was he doing? All right. Someone needs to check that man for PEDs. All right. Yeah, I think there's something hinky there. I'm starting that rumor right here. Matthias Janmark. I don't know where I'm going with that. All right, let's move on. Forget about Edmonton. You're not picking any of these players up. Ottawa, though, really nice pieces here that might be gettable for you in fantasy. So we're looking at Josh Norris is out there, right? The Pinto Bean, Shane Pinto and David Perron. These are all guys that can do crap. They can do stuff for fantasy. So, I think that's going to be. I'm really interested. Like I'm interested in all three of those players. Well, Norris and Pinto over really any player from New Jersey or Philly that I've heard so far. Like I'd rather have these guys for the back half of the week. So I don't know. Like what would you do? Like would you pick up an Ottawa player like Monday, like let's say 3 a.m.? Would you just go pick up an Ottawa player just to get that Friday, Sunday in? Is that like a viable option? And then, maybe talk about these three players as well.
I think it's potentially viable, especially if you have just a player who's not going to play for you all week anyway, and there's no point in having them on your roster, so you might as well go ahead and get that guy for later in the week. But if you're in a league where these guys are not going to get picked up anyway, and you can feel pretty confident about that, they're not going to get picked up till later in the week, then there's no real incentive to. You may as well just wait, see if somebody gets injured, you move them to the injured reserve, and you pick these guys up without dropping anyone. So it's a little bit more league specific, I'd guess, there. In terms of the players, they have kind of moved around some stuff. I'm just seeing now, actually, Pinto did not practice today, and I'm not entirely sure why. So maybe we need to double check on that.
Not the
But
Pinto Bean.
I think it looks like he had his spot held, so I'm sure. Yeah, it says Daniel Alfredson was skating in his spot. It says
What?
Alfie was just filling in, not making a comeback, so don't even start with that. Yeah. So, but anyway, Pinto's in between Perron and Gregor. It looks like Norris now with Giroux and Batherson, which is pretty nice actually. Whether or not who will get the most deployments is definitely up for debate with this squad. They've definitely given most to the Stützle Kachuk line in recent memory, and then kind of split it a little bit more evenly between the next two lines. So interesting to see what they do with that there, but I am a little bit interested in Norris with Batherson and Drew and see what that might look like. Norris's underlying stats have not been good so far, but he does have 4 points in 4 games. He is on top power play. He is getting 18 plus minutes a night, and so I'm into it for those reasons and based on the fact that we have seen Norris put up good underlying stats in the past. Maybe not like amazing underlying stats, but good underlying stats. So I'm into Norris first. Pinto also 18 plus minutes, also not terrific underlying numbers, although better than Norris's. Um, also, definitely viable, although I can't say I'm excited about it, just given the line mates there and how things have been trending. David Braun actually has the best underlying metrics of the three, but 0 points and skating like 13 and a half minutes a night. He's ranked 16th in shots per 60, 64th in individual scoring chances for per 60. Yeah, the numbers look good, but the deployment doesn't, so I think I would still put him behind Pinto for third spot amongst those three.
Ew, David. Yeah. Yeah, come on. Get this man some goals here. What about you forgot to mention Michael Upper Bodio Amadio. All right. I meant to mention this. It's me, Amadio. Yeah, that's from one of our Discord members. Gave me that one. Sweet one. So we got to start talking about Michael Amadio a little bit more so I can do that. Super Mario. Did you even play that? Do you know who that is, Nate?
Yes, I
Oh
did
man.
play Super Mario. Michael Mario, so he does show up. He is, I guess, on that Kachuk Stutzla line in the latest practice line. So that is of some interest. Yeah, again, super unconvinced that by the time we get to Friday of next week that he's still there. So that's the major problem for me.
But we're gonna say his name anyway, so I can go. It's a me, a Mario. I'll do it again. Anyways, let's move on there. That is Ottawa. So some reasonable pieces there with Norris being the huckleberry that you're looking for. Moving on, there are three teams that play 4 games with one off night, and those teams are the Detroit Red Wings, Tampa Bay Lightning, and the Toronto Maple Leafs. Yeah, so we'll just go real quick here with those players. Detroit, I mean, in terms of their streamers, you're looking at Vlade Tarasenko. He's out there. JT Compher, that redheaded beauty. And then Eric Gustafsson made his return to the lineup right after I dropped him in Kikupful because it's pissing me off getting these healthy scratches. And then he got back up to power play 1. So I think Gus is, if he's getting power play 1, he's viable at this point. But I mean, the other guys, Tarasenko and Compher, like I don't really like what's going on in there in Detroit. I don't know. What about you, Nate?
Yeah, it's hard to get excited about it, but Tarasenko does have some good underlying metrics and limited minutes. Just under 14 minutes a night, 38th in shots per 60, 15th individual scoring chances for per 60. That looks all right. The Comfort's the one who's getting the deployment and putting up a few points here. 2 goals, 3 assists in 4 games, 18 and a half minutes a night, 86th in shots per 60, and 97th in individual scoring chances for per 60. So I think you got to go Comfort there. Gustafsson, I'm really, really worried about rostering anybody who could just not play
Yep.
any
Yep.
given night. So yeah, I'm not super excited about that. I do still think there's potential there. I think he's shown that he can be a good offensive defenseman, but I kind of feel like I need some reassurances that he's not just going to be out of the lineup by the time I'm using him.
Yeah, it's tough. Like this early in the season, and they're already doing that. They're like, yeah, that
Yeah.
experiment's done. You go sit in the press box. Like not even in the game, just take him off power play 1. No, get in the press box. Like that's not what you want to see. So Gustafsson stock taking a big hit. That stinks, but it is what it is. Tampa Bay, they've got oh god, these are terrible. Yeah, Nick Paul. Okay, sure. That's fine. Anthony Cirelli's been doing a few things. Cam Atkinson hasn't really, kind of hit in that sleeper way that we thought he might based on his, start of the season deployment. And then Darren Radish, that power play 1 beauty. Oh, things are going well on your team when you got Darren Radish on the top power play. What? I don't know, but he's there. He's still there, folks. So talk to me about those players, Nate.
Yeah, obviously not too much to get excited about, but yeah, if you need a defenseman, yeah, maybe you got an open defenseman spot. If you
Mm,
got Vince Dunn or something like that, maybe this is a spot where you pick up Darren Radish for the week, and hopefully that power play spot sticks around. Yeah, again, it's one of those spots where you might wonder how long it lasts, but yeah, if you do have an open defenseman slot, then you could do worse than adding Darren Radish. You get the Monday, Tuesday, and then you figure out if he's continuing on power play 1, if he's putting up points, you can hang on to him, or you can potentially move off into one of those Edmonton, Ottawa end of week streams.
yeah, he's like a cheerleader on that power play. He's like, "Good job, guys! Way to go! That's it, Cooch." He just does that. He's just a vibe on power play 1. That's his role there. And I think that's nice. They're innovative there in Tampa Bay. They do things. They know how to win. Darren Radish, power play 1. Book it. All right. Toronto. We got to talk about these beauties. I think Tampa Bay or Toronto, like these guys are, to me, they're technically 4 games with 2 off nights because, again, they have that Thursday, right? So you might be able to get these guys. Maybe you can pick one of these guys up at the beginning of your week, right? And in Toronto, Matthew Nyes. Like I like what I'm seeing here. He's had a decent start to the season. Ekman Larson as well. We're getting a ton of questions on him in our Discord. Do I drop so and so for Larson? Do I drop this person for Larson? I don't know. I mean, I need to see a little bit more with Ekman Larson. But I mean, maybe just talk to me real quick about those 2 players, Nate, Matthew Nyes and Ekman Larson, and how you're valuing them this week.
Yeah, I am still interested in Nyes. The last outing was not as great as the previous ones were. But that doesn't mean a whole lot in the grand scheme of things. It feels like every game is life and death because we have so few data points at this time. But
Yep.
he continues to put up more than a shot in every single game so far. 5-3-3-2 so far. Yeah, just the ice time dipped down to 15-11. That being said, the Leafs were in control of that game against LA, and so they maybe just took some minutes away from the top line and let everybody else play a little bit more. So still in on Knives for sure. OEL, like I think you just have to respect the ceiling here. The fact that if he is on the top power play for the rest of the year there in Toronto, that's like a potentially nuclear spot. I know it didn't go perfectly for him in Florida, and he eventually ceded that role back to Brandon Montour. But I think, yeah, the way he's shooting the puck, he's been generating a ton of shots as well. So that's there. He's been getting tons of minutes. Berube obviously likes him a lot. And so I'm feeling obviously more and more confident the longer he stays in this role, but I think you just have to respect the fact that this is a really big ceiling potential case where you get a waiver wire defenseman who could score like 55 points in a best case scenario
Mhm.
and yeah, just be on your team the entire year.
Is OEL a must add? Like, put you on the spot here, but like, are you, if he's out there, is it like a must add? Do you have to have this
In
guy on your team?
in 12 team leagues, I'd say yes.
There you go. I like that. Okay. So some other pieces here in Toronto. I mean, Maximus Domius, return of the Mac, 5 assists in 4 games for Domi. He's doing stuff with some of the worst metrics you've ever seen in your life. And that's just what he does. He's a facilitator. He doesn't want to shoot the puck. He wants to get it to the big boys and pick up those apples. So he might be out there. And then Bobby McMahon. How the hell do you not start the season with Bobby McMahon out there? You call it McMahon, 3 goals in 3 games. He's doing stuff out there. This is a very efficient shooter. I don't get to watch a lot of Bobby McMahon. Like, what do you think about that player, Nate?
It's just a player that's in a good spot, playing on that second line. Obviously, Domi's the facilitator. McMahon's the drive the net guy. He's 12th in the league in shots per 60 in the last 3 games. Minutes are not there, but there's at least potential. It's a deeper league play for sure, but I think there's something there.
Nice. Okay. Last team we're going to talk about here, Colorado. They have 3 games played with 1 off night, but they also play the Thursday 9 games there. So, they play the Tuesday, obviously, Thursday, and then Sunday. So, I mean, all this really means is, buddy, we roll, we ride with our boy Cameo and the most mid player in the entire NHL, Casey Middlestad. We're riding with our boys, aren't we, Nate?
Absolutely, we are. You
Oh, yeah.
can and you must hold Ross Colton.
I'm excited, man. Like these guys aren't coming back anytime soon. Colton and Middlestat, they're good to go for a little while, and it's neat when you see players like this receive this kind of deployment, right? With these kind of players, McKinnon and Rantanen, McCarr, like, yeah, it's really exciting for fantasy, and I'm stoked to see Colton, going off like this.
Yeah, I mean, at this rate, Landeskog better get back sooner. Colton's going to be captain by the time he's back.
I think so. And it all makes sense. We've been talking about it for years. Make it happen, Mr. Bednar. And then, just talk to me real quick. You had some streaming stuff that you were looking at this week with Kovalenko and Callum Ritchie. First off, how did that go? And like, what are talk to me about those players.
Yeah, I was talking to you about it there on
Yep.
Sunday when we were recording the flagship show, and I was deciding between Kovalenko and Callum Ritchie. Ritchie had better underlying stats. Kovalenko at the time was still looking like he was going to be on the top line. And immediately the next day on Monday, we got word that he was knocked down the lineup, and Callum Ritchie has actually been pretty good. Since then, he's 75th in shots per 60, 65th individual scoring chances for per 60. The deployment's not great for sure. Nobody, if you're not amongst the absolute top guys on Colorado, you're just never going to get any minutes. But there's something there. It's a young player with good pedigree, and kind of like that player. It's definitely a very deep league play, but I'm not throwing it out just yet with Callum Ritchie.
Yep. Looks like a player, though. Nice to see. Buddy, we need to hear about the Apples and Genos Patreon.
Yes, we absolutely do. Supporter tier, $2 a month gets you access to patron-only live shows. Just did one last week for the month of October. That is available on Patreon, so if you sign up, you'll get access to the audio of that right away. $8 tier, the Apples tier gets you access to those patron only shows, but also gets you access to patron only Discord channels, gets you access to the show notes for this show right here, and as well as the show notes for the flagship show and puzzling players, and also gets you the Apples and Geo's player evaluation tool, which is a new thing for this year that we're providing. And yeah, the Discord members have been enjoying it and being able to compare really the stats that we talk about, the stats that we use in our fantasy leagues. We're able to kind of provide that tool to the patrons this year. If you're a true degenerate, $15 a month gets you to the Genos tier. You get all of the previous perks, plus I will answer every single question you ask guaranteed. All right. I think we need to move on, Blake. I think we need to get into the dream streams. The dream streams are basically just where I rank all of the players for points, for hits, for blocks. I try to give you an idea of who I'm looking at for my leagues for next week. Um, I did put Paul Cotter at the top and Stefan Nason right behind. This is obviously dependent on that deployment holding. So this is really just based on where they are right now. So you got to watch practice lines. You definitely cannot take it for granted that just because they are there as of right now, that they will still be there by the time we are making these decisions, by the time 3 a.m. on Monday morning rolls around. But based on the information that we have at this moment, and the fact that I think you probably can get 3 games out of these guys, getting them in for that Thursday, then the Friday and the Sunday as well. I will put them at the top here. My number 3 will be Josh Norris. I probably only getting 2 games there, but I do think that, 18 plus minutes, top power play, getting that Drew Batherson look, all of that is good stuff for him. And then Morgan Frost, I would put in a similar tier here. Ross Colton right behind. I think all these 3 guys probably kind of tier out in the same spot for me. Ross Colton's been the hottest. Maybe that means something to you and you want to elevate him. I wouldn't fault you for that. Obviously, I'm a big Ross Colton fan. But I think all 3 of these guys, if we're just kind of projecting based on what we've seen so far, I'll project pretty similarly for the next week. Then flipping over to Toronto, again here, assuming that you're going to get that Thursday game out of these players. So you're going to get a couple games here. Matthew Nyes, Max Domi makes some sense for me here. And Shane Pinto, I'll lump in there. Oliver Ekman Larson fits as a streamer, but I think his true value is his potential as a long-term hold, really. And then lastly here, I'll throw in Eric Holla just for potentially getting 3 games there. Holla has had like a decent little start to the season. He's thrown up some assists and gotten involved. He can kill some penalties. He's going to be on the ice. So you could do worse, especially in deeper leagues, than Eric Holla. Talk to me about the list here, Blake, and pick it apart.
Yeah, I mean, it's just semantics at this point. It's a gross streaming week, and this list is kind of gross. So
Yeah,
I think there's like 2 or 3 guys where I'm like, okay, I could have that person on my team, but yeah, it is what it is. I like Josh Norris in there, and I like Morgan Frost. I think I'd probably pick Morgan Frost over Stefan Nason and Paul Cotter. I think
sure.
I just like that, but I mean, it's potato at this point.
All right, moving over to hits and blocks for hits. Paul Cotter does that. So if he gets more minutes, then you could actually see some pretty gaudy hit numbers from him. Brendan Dillon is pretty obvious play there as well, especially if you're getting those 3 games from him. Stefan Nason, Andre Palat, these guys hit as well. And then Ross Colton is doing that for you as well, getting tons of minutes. Obviously, just the best player in the entire world.
Oh my
Best for
god.
blocks. Brendan Dillon takes top spot here. Jonas Siegenthaler with the 3 games played, I'm expecting you to get there. Have to have him at the top of this list. Chris Tanev, Jake McCabe from Toronto fit in here, and Ben Sherratt from Detroit. Anybody here, Blake, that I might have missed? Anybody you want to highlight?
No, but just a bunch of peripheral stallions. How about Ben the Sherratt? Yeah, he's. I actually had him on my couple team for a long period of last year, and I didn't make the playoffs. So there you go.
Yeah, there might be some correlation or causation there that we
I'll
might be
never
able
quit
to
you,
draw.
Ben Sherratt.
Yeah, I'll just say Brendan Dillon, the obvious priority banger pickup
Yeah,
there, if you
paper.
have the ability to get him in there. All right, let's move over to Hold Me. This is our segment where we talk about the best players to add for the future, long term plays, players that we think you can hold and it'll just feel good. You'll hold them for a long time and you'll enjoy the experience. So I'll just rattle off the list. I mentioned last week the list is long. The list is still long, although it has gotten shorter. JJ Paterka tops the list, 38% rostered on Yahoo right now. I think this is a player that should be rostered in pretty much every league. 10 teams or higher at least, I would say. Nick Schmaltz, Barrett Hayton, definitely as well. They continue to get stuff done. Dylan Strome, Gabriel Velarde with a couple of assists in the game tonight. Pavel Zacha, Sam Bennett, Dylan Cousins, Adam Fantilli, all rounding out this list here. Yeah, anybody here really doing it for you, Blake? Anybody you want to highlight from that?
Yeah, JG Paterka makes no sense. Nick Schmaltz as well. Like, I know we talk about this guy every year in this segment, and it's for a reason. He's really good at hockey, this guy, and he gets a ton of minutes, and he still is. So he may not show it in the metrics that we like here, but I'm a really big Nick Schmaltz fan. I just picked him up. I had an injury, and I picked him up for a points league that I'm in, just straight points. And yeah, he was out there, and he's crushing. He's giving me production right off the bat. So yeah, I like the list a lot, but Paterka's got to be your main guy there.
For sure. Sub 20% rostered. There's definitely some good names on this list as well. Leo Carlson, who is maybe the only reliable Anaheim Duck at the moment. Definitely worth a pickup. He's 17% rostered. Connor Zary over there in Calgary. I do have some concern still about Igor Sharangovich coming back and potentially taking that role back from Zary, but if he continues to put up points the way he's been doing, like there's no way that he is going to give up that role. Troy Terry goal in the game tonight. He's down here at 16% rostered. Anthony Duclair, Igor Chinnikov, Ross Colton is down here. I always have to figure out exactly where the line is to consider somebody
Yeah.
a quote unquote long term hold. But yeah, given the fact that we're not really expecting Druin or Lehkonen back for at least the next like 2, 3, 4 weeks
Yep.
at this point, I think he qualifies. Josh Norris, Alex Laferriere. We'll note that Laferriere got demoted off the top line, was still on the top power play in the last game. So keep an eye on that. Trevor Zegras as well. Trevor Zegras has actually had some halfway decent underlying stats this year and a little bit more deployment than I thought he might get from Greg Cronin. He's averaging just under 17 and a half minutes a night, 51st in shots per 60 in the league, and the on ice numbers not so bad either. So holding out some hope for a Trevor Zegras resurgence this year as well. Sub 10% rostered, I've got Kirill Marchenko, Maxim Siplakov, and Morgan Frost, Kirby Doc both show up down here. Morgan Frost is only 5% rostered, which is one of the bigger oversights on Yahoo at the moment in my mind. Anything to add there, Blake?
Yeah, I just wanted to throw Sean Monahan in there as well.
Sure.
I mean, he's been getting a ton of minutes. Like he's playing 20 minutes a night, 4 points in all the Columbus games. There, he's not bringing anything peripherally. The underlying stats, nothing to write home about, but it's just a line one, power play one guy that I think might be able to put up like 55, 60 points, right? And that's going to be valuable for fantasy, especially like these guys are decimated, right? And they're launching Monahan out there. So, anyways, I like Monahan this year a little bit.
Fair enough. Moving over to defense, Oliver Ekman-Larsson does top the list here at 26% rostered. He's already gone in the more active leagues, but definitely if he's still out there in your league, you should probably be into that. Jake Wallman still only 13% rostered. Brant Clark, 31%. Owen Power, 32%. And Jamie Drysdale at 7%. If I'm looking exclusively at sub 20% rostered guys, obviously Wallman shows up there. And Pavel Minchikov had a 2-goal game the other night. That's kind of all he's done in terms of fantasy scoring, but he's getting way more minutes this year than he ever had last year, which is pretty exciting. I didn't see what he got actually in the game here today, which I would like to see. But either way, I'm kind of into it with Minchikov at the moment. I think that it's a player like you go around the league like anybody who covers the game talks about Minchikov in just absolutely glowing terms, and so I think it's a player that you can say with some confidence is going to be around for a while. Another 21 minutes 45 seconds in the game tonight for Minchikov, so have to add him there. The Yeah, the counting stats haven't really been there, but the time on ice has, and it's definitely a player that is highly regarded. Sub 10% rostered, I have Jamie Drysdale showing up here again, and then I also have Adam Boakvist at 8%. Um, yeah, definitely. Boakvist not getting the deployment that we hope for. He's still getting the top power play, but that's like basically all the minutes that he's getting in any
Yeah.
given game. And so it is like power play assist or bust for the moment at Boakvist, and that's obviously not where you want to be. I do think he's rosterable in kind of these deeper leagues that we're targeting with this sub 10% rostered kind of category here. But I think you can be forgiven for dropping Adam Boakvist in some of your more shallow spots. Any thoughts, Blake?
Yeah, I just want to shout out. I'm not sure he's a rest of season hold. Probably not, but Hampus Lindholm is a player that I've noticed a little bit out there. He's 19% rostered as a defenseman. Like, he's had some good games out there, and his first year with Boston, he popped off for like 53 points, which is by far a career high. Definitely an outlier, but he's looked good out there. Just a player that I think certainly, if you're going to go a Boston defenseman, this is a guy that I think can do something for your fantasy teams. Like a really boring guy that can chip away and get you a little bit of points there in a decent week.
All right, next up, goaltenders. Top dog here for me is Petr Mrazek, 17% rostered. He's doing the thing again where he actually just plays really well and nobody notices because he's in Chicago. Has started the last 3 games for the Blackhawks and has allowed only 2 goals in each of them. I think everybody saw that first game against Utah. Obviously, everybody's excited about Utah. Mrazek gave up 4 goals in that game, and everybody's like, oh, yeah, it's Chicago. Like, Mrazek isn't going to be a thing again. He's rattled off 3 straight really nice games here. I know Brissois is coming back at some point here, but Mrazek is still going to be the guy in my estimation. It's just really a question of what the net share might look like over the rest of the season. Dustin Wolf has actually looked pretty solid. Calgary as a team has
Mhm.
actually looked pretty solid, which has been a bit of a surprise for most people, I think. They have been just splitting the net 50-50 so far, but Wolf has a 944 save percentage in his 2 starts. That's going to play. So, yeah, you can definitely do worse than Dustin Wolf. Charlie Lindgren also here. It does seem right now that they're going to split pretty much 50-50 there with Lindgren and Thompson. But Lindgren, yeah, we saw what he could do last year, so I don't think I need to explain that one too much further. Sub 25% rostered will go here to the goaltenders in Vancouver, Shilovs and Lankinen. I'll pitch this over to you, Blake. Obviously, Lankinen has gotten better results so far than Shilovs. How are you approaching this tandem at the moment?
It's a tough one for sure, because I do believe the Canucks I mean, a lot better team than what they've shown so far, even defensively. Like they have been poor defensively. But to me, Lankinen has been the one. Yeah, he has had better results, but he's also been more noticeable on the ice. He's been making bigger saves. Not that Shilovs has been bad, but Lankinen has been saving the team with some of his performances. Right. So for me, I think the next game is going to be really key. Like, who do they start? Do they start Lankinen or Shilovs? And I think whoever they start, that's kind of who you want to go with. Right. So that's sort of where I'm at. And it stinks because I have Shilovs in a lot of spots. So I really kind of hope they go with him and I hope he gets a dub. But yeah, Lankinen looks great. They're both going to be good options, but I hope it's not just like, pick one and, or like a 1 game stream for these guys all year.
Right. Yeah, I would say that if Shilovs goes, then it seems like they're just sticking with the 50-50 thing. If Lankinen goes, then that's a clear sign that they're kind of leaning more his direction. So
Yep.
that would be very bullish on Lankinen in my estimation. Samuel Urson makes the list for me, 21%. Lucas Dostal, who had another great game in a losing cause for the Ducks here tonight against Colorado at 23%. You can definitely do worse there. I just want to throw out a mention for Justus Annunen at 14% rostered and Alex Nedeljkovic at 7% rostered. Yeah, I think everybody's well aware of the embattled Alexander Georgiev narrative that's going on. He allowed 3 goals on 20 shots in the game against Anaheim today. That's definitely not not spectacular. It's definitely better than he's done so far, but yeah, at some point you got to feel like they'll try Annunen, and it feels like he can't possibly be worse. And so I just want to keep a light on there. I'm not saying that you need to add him and roster him now, but maybe when he gets that next start, you add him, and then what if he gets a shutout? Like, are they really going to go back to
Yeah.
Georgiev if Annunen comes in and drops a shutout in the first game? Yeah, just something that I want to be cognizant of, because I do think that Colorado net is valuable and will be even more valuable once they start to get some bodies healthy once again. Alex Nedeljkovic, yeah, we mentioned it a little bit before, working his way back from the injury, should be back at least for next week here. And so with Jerry playing just truly terribly and kind of continuing from last year where he wasn't playing too well either, and Blomqvist is probably, realistically, Blomqvist is probably still a year or two away from being an NHL goaltender full time. Nedeljkovic did have a good run at the end of last year, and so there is a chance here that, Pittsburgh has actually been a little bit surprising for most people as well. Nedeljkovic could get some run and could be a big time 0G candidate. 7% rostered is Alex Nedeljkovic. Anything to add on the goaltenders there, Blake?
No, I'm just excited to get into this next segment here.
Are you now? Are you excited for the head-to-head streamer deathmatch? The head-to-head streamer deathmatch is a long-standing honored tradition between Blake and I, in which we pick streamers, and generally I win. That's how I remember it anyway. Uh, right now, Blake is just like a little bit ahead on the week. Actually, Blake, like we were talking about it before, like we picked some really good ones this week. Like this is about as good as it gets in terms of picking our streamers for this, especially since we made it harder on ourselves this year,
Yep.
and we're going with under 25% rostered players. But Blake, you're in the lead, so I'll kick it over to you. You can tell the people what the numbers are.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I'm beating Nate. That's all that you need to know. All right. I'm waxing the floor with him. It's unbelievable. But I do got to shout you out, man. Mikhail Granlund as a streamer, and then he's popping the hell off the way he is. Like, I mean, it makes total sense when you think about it. But yeah, like this guy's playing like 23 minutes a night. He's insane. So yeah, I like that. But yeah, you can't go up against Casey Middlestat. You just can't, especially you. You can't go up against Casey Middlestat, Nate, because of all the yang. You've talked about that beautiful blonde-haired beauty.
That's probably true.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
karma.
Casey Middlestat did beat me twice last year, if I'm remembering
And
correctly. I
Dylan
think you
Strome
picked
beat
him.
me twice last year, I think. So,
Yeah, Strom was
yeah,
my guy and Middlestat was yours. So
we
we'll
got to
see if
go head to
Middlestat
head,
can do it.
Strome and Middlestat. Oh,
We
that's
should
a
try
clash of
that
the Titans.
sometime.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's definitely a sentence that no one has
Yeah,
ever
they
said
are not
before.
Titans, folks. All right, that's
Yeah.
fine.
But yeah, it's been a good week, and we'll see how it comes out. In the end, they're pretty tight at the moment. We got one more game to go for each of them this week. We got to make some picks for this week. For this week, I get to go first here, and that means that I get to have Morgan Frost on my team.
Oh, damn.
What was the nickname that you've ascribed to Mr. Frost here?
The Tinkly Winkly man. Oh, you just fear, striking fear into people's hearts. He's an evil person.
All right, Blake. Well, now that you've been sufficiently terrified by my choice, who will you be selecting?
Well, this is terrible. I didn't think you were going to take Morgan Frost. So, now what the hell I got to do? You know what? Let's have some fun. I'm taking Paul Cotter. That's it. Let's
All
go.
right.
Paul Cotter, get in my life. I don't, I have enjoyed watching him play. And you know what? Maybe they'll bump his minutes. Maybe he'll get power play one. Get Stefan Nason the hell out of my sight. We got Cotter over here.
All right. Well, if you made it this far, it would be a great time to like this video, rate the podcast, review it, subscribe to the YouTube channel, leave us a comment, do all those things that help us out a little bit, help us grow the channel and keep things coming out for you. You should also click the link in the description, join the Discord community. Got 1,400 fantasy managers in there talking fantasy hockey all day and all night, all season long. But I think that's going to be all that we've got for this episode. Hopefully, it brought you some value, helped you get a little bit better at fantasy hockey today. All the advanced stats you heard today came from Natural Stat Trick, which is a terrific free resource. Many thanks to the band there for supplying the music for the podcast. Be sure to check out their Spotify as well. That's it, folks. Much love.